Welcome to another episode of IMCP Profiles and Partnership, the podcast that showcases how Microsoft partners and IMCP members boost their business by collaborating with other members and partners. I'm your co-host, Anthony Carano, and today we're joined by Nigel Postings, founding partner of bicize, to explore how data-driven decision-making and genuine teamwork are reshaping the partner ecosystem. Before we jump in, I want you to consider a few questions. How can transparent data sharing and mutual trust between technology partners lead to greater innovation and customer value in today's digital marketplace? And in what ways do data-driven collaborations help both large enterprises and emerging channel organizations achieve sustainable growth and competitive advantages? And last, is your company's digital presence actually helping you find the right partners and clients, or could a few simple changes make all the difference? Think about these things as you listen. You might find the answers to leveling up your partnerships are simpler and more data-driven than you think. Let's dive in. Well, Nigel, welcome to the podcast. We're really glad to have you here.
Anthony, thank you. Looking forward to it. Excited, yes.
Excellent.
Even this early on a Friday morning, yes.
Yes. But you're looking good, nonetheless. Well, let's start off for those who are not familiar with you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your role in the company.
Okay, so Nigel Postings, as we said. So I'm the founding partner of bicize. We are, for want of better words, a data aggregator, predominantly focused in the channel. And so we work with any company that have channel to help them assess, recruit, analyze the market. My story background is, over 25 years connected to Microsoft as a partner prior to with digital. Joined Microsoft Consulting Services, then got excited about partner, went across to the partner team in the UK, came across a worldwide and led worldwide through partner marketing, and actually got close to the IMCP on the other side, as we prepped for worldwide partner marketing and things like a worldwide partner conference as it used to be then. So yes, I've been here in Seattle now 20 years and still enjoying it. The weather's the same as the UK. The dark and the light is the same as UK. So yeah, it's good.
Well, you mentioned WPC. I'm sure then you and Rudy can swap some stories there.
Yes, definitely. Yes, yeah. We used to have access to all areas because we were the team that worked for Alison Watson, who was the leader at the time. So helping partners come on stage, and I've got some good stories I could share, probably off camera, but it was good times. Good times.
Excellent. And in addition, I mean, I hear that you're a big music aficionado and soccer fan.
Yes, or football as we call it in England. Yes, so love.
My bad.
No. We're in the US. So regular attendee at concerts in Seattle, downtown Seattle. Many British bands come across, so go there. And sometimes the biggest stadiums at the Seahawks Stadium. And then for football, I'm a big Stoke City fan. If anyone's heard of them, now they're not in the Premier League anymore, and so my Saturday mornings are taken up listening. And unfortunately, with the TV now, they're kicking off even earlier, 12 o'clock in the UK, which means 4 a.m. here. So it's tough. It's hard being a Stoke fan anyway, but it's got even harder.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess watching it on demand's not in the future now.
No, I'm trying to avoid knowing the score. That'll be the hardest thing.
Well, that's great. So going back about with bicize, tell us a little bit more, like with the company and like the company's like lean like area of specialization.
Yeah, so bicize, I'd say it's in 3 areas really. Number one, we work with companies like Microsoft and companies like HP, SAP, where we help them assess their current channel ecosystem. Are partners promoting them? Are they promoting their solutions? What's the competitive pressures? With projects like with HP, we're also looking at capabilities of partners. What's their reach? And so where are they in the partner program? So assess is number one. Secondly, we do market intelligence. So we can look at any market. So think of cyber as an example, where we could look at the top vendors in cyber, analyze which partners are working with them, which solutions they're offering, and also understand customer intent data. How many customers are visiting each partner? What type of solution are they searching for? Are they searching for our client? Are they searching for a competitive product? So that's assess and intelligence, and it really lets the client understand where they are, where they need to grow, where they may have gaps. And then thirdly, and this is where we started to work with Sherpa, we develop what we call digitally qualified leads. So we know everything about the company, not necessarily the individual of the company, to know their performance, their applicability to any given solution or any given vendor. We then work with Sherpa and take that data to another level, doing outreach. And that outreach can be anything from a digital campaign, where you're then identifying partners or owners of partners and saying, hey, would you like to be a partner of Microsoft, a partner of another client? And then of late, we've also extended that to customer. So working with disties, where we can work on behalf of Microsoft, going out to end customers and say, hey, are you interested in using Copilot, for example? So it's the data, I'd say from bicize, we're very precise on the data. So precise and bicize, that's how the name came, by the way, one afternoon many years ago. But our data really helps you analyze your channel, helps you identify customers. And what we're seeing more and more in the market is helping partners with those customer leads. And so saying, here's a set of customers, they're pre-qualified, they're not Copilot, and they could be a Copilot user. With Sherpa, they go out and then talk to the customer, and then we hand these over to partners. So those are three things: assess, intelligence, and activation.
Excellent.
Nigel, I'd like to ask you a few questions because we want to cover the story that made you a finalist for an IMCP award. Can you tell us a little bit about how you connected with the company that you've just mentioned, Sherpa?
Yep.
And then also tell us a little bit about the client. You don't have to share the client name or size or industry, but the technology that was implemented and what challenges that client was facing.
Yeah, so there's several projects. I'm not sure the specific one we did for the case study, but I kind of mentioned the two kind of case studies. But to start off with, Sherpa, introduced for another IMCP member actually in Austria. So they made the connection and say, hey, I know Sherpa, they do this, and I know you do data. You two should connect. Great P2P story. So with Sherpa, we've got a great understanding. There's no real overlap in what we deliver. We're purely around the data, and they're around activating that data. So we developed the story, and then we've gone out to several clients now, where we, number one, understanding what the business issue is. And as I said, many times it could be, hey, I need to recruit more partners. I have not got enough partners to do Copilot or enough partners to do Azure. And so we'll go out and with our data, understand who are the partners out there, what's their capability, and develop a very well qualified list. And then working with Sherpa, they then nurture those leads to the point where if it's a partner, the owner of the business or the alliance director will say, yes, I'm interested in becoming a partner of that company, and we hand over to our client. In the case of customers, and we're doing this more and more, we're identifying customers based on two things really. One, their firmographic data, which industry are they in, what revenue size are they, which country are they in, and then their technographic data, what technology they're using today or not using. And so we're able to identify that, we're able to score and assess those customers, and then hand in hand with Sherpa, develop a campaign, the value prop of why that customer should consider moving to that technology, and we execute that campaign, and either with or on behalf of partners develop those leads. And so working with the client, we set out a very strict criteria of what success looks like, meeting the number of what we call either marketing qualified leads or sales qualified leads, and then hand those over to the partners on behalf of our client, which in many cases can be a distie.
Excellent. Well, these collaborations that you're doing don't just happen by accident. Can you tell us a little bit about what specific practices, frameworks, or agreements that you put in place to make all these partnerships work?
Yeah, I think we have a very open relationship. Number one, we know how a deal breaks down, and in full transparency, Sherpa, because they've got people behind the activation and teams behind it, we're a certain size of the deal, and they're a bigger chunk. But it's very, very open in terms of where we go out and win deals together. We present together. We show the value prop to the clients, how we are as almost like one organization working together, and then we execute. Working with the key stakeholders, and they may be the channel leads if it's customers, or the channel program if it's partner recruit. So it's really, helping the customer understand what the business problem is, how we can help solve that together with data and execution to help them grow and drive revenue, either through recruiting partners or finding customers on behalf of those partners.
Well, what market size do you primarily focus on?
So, great question. I typically say for a customer of this size, they typically have to have probably 2,000 partners or more. Everything that we do, we're a data aggregator. You could do on the desktop. It's all public information. But we built a platform on Azure. We extensively use SQL, and we're moving towards being more of a data service than a project-based company. So typically customers 2,000 more. So that tends to be large enterprises. But notwithstanding that, we also work with smaller companies as they're developing a channel, or in some cases not even had a channel yet. And then they start to understand the value of indirect or channel sales in their organization. So we've just signed a deal with a company that's to date has got 290 partners, and they want us to globally help them scale their organization and look for the next 12 months another 500 partners that are well qualified, understand the business. And then with Sherpa, for the client, we can deliver a full service as well. We can also help develop the value prop, because it's one thing identifying the right company, two, identifying the right individual within that industry, within that company, but it's then sharing the value prop, why they should change, why they should build a practice, say, with Microsoft. And so having all that right value prop, that's important. And Sherpa also use that as part of the delivery if needed.
Anthony, do you have some more questions?
Oh yeah, I do. Well, no, that's excellent. Let me ask you this, Nigel. I mean, can you share a time when a partnership didn't go as planned, and what did you learn about resilience or leadership from that experience?
I'd say partnership. When I engage with companies, I think of four things. I'd often do, let's say, cold calls. And not as an end customer, I look at someone I could sell to, they could sell to me, we could work together or shake hands and say, hey, let's meet in 6 months. So partnerships I've had somewhere, they don't understand the value we bring and think we're just a list provider, and that never works. So what's good with Sherpa, they understand, we know the market. Very often, sometimes there are clients that we're bringing Sherpa into, so there's a level of trust there. If the partner we're working with doesn't understand the value prop, can't articulate your story well to their client, and also if they're protective of their client and don't allow you in front of them and you're kind of behind the scenes, sometimes I don't think that works well. So I think it's a full collaboration where you're very upfront that you are two organizations working together, that collectively the services you add can help solve the problem with the client. So I think that's where it's successful. I've had other situations where I've had companies work on my behalf, developing leads for me, and it's not been very successful. They sell you their top player and then bring in the B team, and it soon fails. I'm sure we've all experienced that.
What about in your experience? What does high trust networking look like in practice, and how do you measure whether it's working or not? When you're finding partners to collaborate with.
I think it's one. I mean, there's a level of trust across many things. I mean, one, the financial agreements you have between yourself is very transparent, very clear. So very often you work on one paper. So we we have the agreement with the client, and so there's a complete open trust there. And how you develop the statement of work, when the money comes in, how you get it paid. It's understanding the roles and responsibilities. And on one client we're working with at the moment with Sherpa, the lead for the client happens to be in Europe, so it makes sense. They are working as bicize on this particular deal and open working with the client, so very, very successful. So it's been able to trust the other partner explicitly with your clients, because we all know it's finding clients is hard, but you got to keep them. Because that's easy to keep the clients and deliver again and again. And if you don't have that trust between the two of you, because very often we are more on the back end, we're the data, it's the execution with the client that Sherpa, tend to do more. And so it's that level of trust so you can bring them in, deliver, and be very confident in front of the client of what we're delivering together.
Well, Nigel, I've got to follow up on that. We're entering this whole new era of computing taking place, with AI and automation reshaping the partner landscape. What's one area where you see partners both leveraging and or underestimating the opportunity?
I think we actually in the Seattle IMCP group we've started this smaller group now where we're starting to work together in P2P, where we meet every week and we're trying to understand across 5 or 6 areas, can we build a solution? And AI is very much part of that. I think everyone's starting to develop AI into their system, Copilot and other things. You can overuse things like Copilot. You've got to make sure it's still your IP and it can get you 80% of the way there, I think, but you need to still put your touch on it. So I think it's understanding, to stay relevant in this world, you've got to develop those skills. You've got to understand that when you're selling, that it's different buyers now. It's a different buying cycle. So the client may have as much knowledge of AI than we do. So it is important, very much so. And then how you lead with that in front of the client, I'd say is critical at the moment.
So if another partner wanted to replicate the success that you've had, what's the one principle or mindset shift that you would tell them to adopt to keep technical, people, and customer value in harmony?
I think number one, it's understanding your lanes. Where do you start and stop, or where does the other partner start and stop, and then maybe some overlap. It's understanding you're driving to the same outcome. If both of you are successful, the client was successful, and then you carry on working. Again, I'll go back to it's that level of trust, that you trust the other partner to build, deliver, and execute, and working to those continual aims of success with the client. So I think it's know what you both do, where you work collectively together, and where you can be successful for the client, and where you are in relationship to the client. Who's driving what and where, and then the client knows your 2 organizations, but knows your 1 delivery team. I think that's critical. They see you as 1, even though you're 2.
Very good, Anthony.
Yeah. So when you're working, and it's interesting, and if I understood correctly, I know you do work with smaller partners, but mainly on the enterprise side, correct?
For the client, yes, yeah. The client tends to be in the enterprise, yes. So and always in technology. We've done telco because data is data, but we found a niche in the technology space with large enterprise clients.
And so with that, I'd imagine, with a lot of these enterprises, they've got a lot of resources and capabilities, and so how do you, when you're going into these, how do you balance, bicize's capabilities with maybe their strengths to ensure that the customer experiences have, like, there's a seamless value rather than just 2 guys working side by side?
Yeah, I think our biggest client that we've been working with for 4 years now, we've worked collectively together. They know that we use external data, and they work with us to say, if there's 2 competitive platforms that provides the same, which is the best for our client. So, the client at the end of the day has an option. They have the technology themselves, they can buy it, or they can use companies like bicize. So it's seeing the value. I think what's critical once you've kicked off a project, we think of the personas that we sell to or work with are the lead of channel programs, the lead of channel marketing, or the lead of channel sales. But another key team is the data team. If you've got success with the data team, that you can, with the one client over the last 4 years, we've been giving quarterly updates of the performance of their channel and giving the data so the data team can seamlessly then ingest that. And so they can then report out on the performance of the partners. And in that case, deciding which partners get access to MDF funds and who doesn't, based on their performance. So I'm not sure if that answered the question, but I think it's the level of trust and relationship up front to have you got the right solution. And I'd say our solution is 80% consistent, and there's always that 20% that's very specific to that client. Because they're in the different market, different countries, different size of segments are going after different industries. And we see, when we work in the ERP space, we see different results to when we're working with the hyperscalers. So different markets, but 80% is baked solution, and that 20% is then very specific, working with the client to really understand what they want and how they consume, and what outcomes is that solution driving. What are they going to do with the data? Because if they can't do anything with the data, then neither is set up for success.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that a lot of times it's using external data. Are you ever utilizing their internal data sets and
Yes. We've worked, obviously there's when we do an assess, one of our best projects is with one of the large hyperscalers in Redmond. They give us their data, and the minimum data we ever require is the name of the company, their website, and the country. But sometimes they give other data, and it could be share of MDF funds, it could be potential revenue they get access to. So there's a level of trust, maintaining the integrity of that data that's kept there, and sometimes you mix the internal data with the external data when you assess the channel. When you come up with some scoring. And we're working on a proposal at the moment exactly like that. A combination of here's the internal data about my partners. This is how, they're managed, unmanaged. This is the revenue they're driving for us. This is the investment of funds. Map that with our external data. You have a 360-degree view of performance. So it can be very impactful. So it can be combined, internal and external data.
Okay. Do you ever have a situation, because you mentioned earlier where you're looking at like with intent data, where you see differences in like, hey, this is what we're seeing from in our external data set versus what they present you with their internal data set, and how do you have you ever encountered a situation where you're like, there's the data's telling us there's two different things that are telling us, and how do you go about reconciling that with the cut?
Yeah, I mean, there's two levels of data. Level one is, let's call it the macro level, when you're looking at the 500 partners in the UK or the 10,000 partners US, and you can give them some insights. Hey, did you know you've got more and more partners now promoting another vendor, which they may, and going back to my days at Microsoft, we used to have a chief operating officer, Kevin Turner, that always talked about revenue, but don't forget share. Because if you could be growing with that partner or with that company, but if they're growing bigger and your competitors gaining their share more and more. So part of our outcomes is, what share of mind have you got with this partner? They're promoting you, but also, by the way, they're promoting other companies. And when we look at the customer intent data, there's higher demand for your competitor than there is for you. Because one of the outcomes for us is if our client develops a campaign, that campaign should land on the partner's website, and then you can that's a validation, but also then you can start to see, okay, our customers going to that partner asking for that, and how does that compare to the competitor? So that's the main difference. So I'd say that's the main difference. It's around the share of wallet and customer intent.
So I got one more data question. And this would be so specifically for, let's say, the smaller partners. What would be one piece of advice you would give those partners? Say, listen, but if you're looking to want to build out your own channel, that you got to make just one piece of advice around their quality of their data. Just you got to say, look, you got to make sure you got to keep this in mind before you even think about doing partner outreach and building a program. From a data perspective, what's the one piece of advice you'd recommend?
So it probably starts with you sell in one or two ways. You sell to people face to face, or you sell digitally. So I think we work with another client who actually works with companies like Microsoft, where having the partner have the right website that has the right messaging on there, so they can be found. Hygiene on their website. Have you got the right keywords? Are you coming up in a search? If someone's searching for a co-pilot partner in Atlanta, are you going to be found? So that's number one, because if you're not found, that's the biggest issue. And what we're seeing, when we work with vendors and partners who engage them, it's getting tougher. Partners are finding it tougher in certain areas. I mentioned ERP, it's getting tougher and tougher to sell. So it's a combination of your digital outreach to engage with customers that you're not going to meet face to face. Hygiene of your channel, that you've seen as positioning the right technology, you have the right capabilities so that you can be found. That's the number one. And that's what, basically when we come out with a score with some of our clients, that's what we give them. We're saying, hey, they're in the top quartile because they've got all the right keywords, they've got the right traffic going there. And so this is a partner you should invest. By the way, these ones, they haven't got the right keywords, they haven't got the solutions, they're not promoting your brand. So maybe you need to work with them to do that. And and very often we did one project where with one vendor, they got us to look at 100,000, what we call the long tail. So partners are not being engaged with for a long time. And so there's some goodness in that long tail. And so those partners can be promoted up. So we see a lot of vendors at the moment thinking, where should I focus? Which partner should I work with as AI becomes more prevalent? Who's got the capabilities? So we can give them those insights.
Excellent. Well, I've got one more question here for you, and it's going back to like around partnerships.
Yep.
So if you could, give your younger self one piece of advice about building partnerships in this ecosystem, what would it be?
Um, Thinking of the audience, I mean, my advice now is I've worked with large enterprises. I've worked within large enterprises, digital, Microsoft, KPMG. Take the risk earlier, maybe it's with your own company, and don't be fearful. Sometimes I think if you go to our website and you look at the logos, and I think we're a very small company, but some of the logos we work with, anything's possible. I think that's advice. Take risks. Take risks. Think and always. And then the other piece of advice is always focus on what the customer wants, not what you can deliver. And I've learned that the hard way. Yeah, you start a conversation. Hey, we can do A, B, and C, but they don't want A, B, and C. They want F. So listen to the customer, deliver what they want rather than what you can do.
That is an excellent, excellent piece of advice, Nigel. Well, really appreciate you being on. What are some of the best ways folks, who want to reach out to you? How can they get a hold of you?
So number one, I'm on LinkedIn. You reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm using that more and more to try and promote, because I think LinkedIn, when people validate you, they can say, "Oh yeah, Nigel, who works for bicize, he's worked for Microsoft." So that's number one. And obviously our website, which is available, and best of all, call me. I use my phone number on LinkedIn, promote it there on my signature, and love to chat and just love to explore. As I say, any conversation I go into, I look at 4 outcomes.
Excellent.
Can I sell to you? Can you sell to me? Can we sell together? Or let's meet again in 6 months.
Excellent. And we'll be sure to have those links in the show notes, in the episode. So, Nigel, this was fantastic. Really appreciate your time. Enjoy that football. And you have a great rest of the day.
Okay. All right. Thanks both.
All right. Well, that wraps up another episode of Profiles in Partnership. Before we do, I want to share maybe a couple of thoughts. There's some things I thought were really, really intriguing, especially how he was coming at, from just working from a data and then enterprise and the understanding the partner ecosystem. I thought there were a lot of really just fantastic insights. Rudy, what were some things that really stood out to you?
Well, there was a couple of things that came up, and one was a great idea that he presented regarding IAMCP and how their P2P groups are meeting on a regular basis weekly
Mm-hmm.
and are trying to figure out how they can build better solutions for their customers, understand more about their particular businesses, and can they create solutions? So I think, that are going to help their customers. And I think that's a real useful tip for IMCP chapters across the world, is to work better together and look at delivering solutions on a more long-term basis versus just the immediate opportunity that's in front of you. I think that's something that's very worthwhile
Mm-hmm.
advice. The other thing that he mentioned was about having the right data hygiene on your website, and that's something that we promote quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Having the right keywords, having positioning the right technology, promoting your capabilities, and promoting the right brand so you can be found. And that's really important. And that's something that I don't think a lot of partners spend time on, in understanding how that is going to help them be found, and how that makes your success much more achievable, because when people start looking for partners, they're looking for a lot of very particular terms, and that's how you can be found. So I think that would help promote partners much better.
Yeah, I found the insights and the conversation around data really to be intriguing. I hope a lot of partners, take it to heart. Especially, I mean, obviously, from the the sales and the marketing angle. Obviously, there's a lot of conversation about data quality, security, and governance as it pertains to things around with AI. And so I just found that really insightful. I know the data hygiene piece I thought was really good. The other thing around data I thought was a good point is when he was talking about as it pertains to like share of mind. So even as like as you're selling, with and through, partners, as the revenue, increases, are you maintaining, that share of mind? And I think a lot of times folks they kind of take it for granted and they don't realize they have to continuously keep, communicating their value props, stay in front, stay relevant, focus on, what they want, not necessarily what you can deliver, right? So you can stay ahead, on that share of mind. So I really appreciated him sharing that, with our audience. The other thing is when he talked about, like, I know you asked a question about how can you, like, with replicating success, in the partner, ecosystem, and he really hit on, just three areas to maintain understanding, right? So you can see it, from their perspective. Like, one, make sure as a partners you understand your lanes. Two, understand, that you're all driving to the same outcomes, for that customer success. And then number three, always understand where you're at in the relationship, as it pertains, to the client. And so I thought that was some really good advice for folks listening in.
And if I could add one more comment, there was one sentence that he mentioned about building your partnerships and building customer solutions. And it was, don't be fearful, take risk, and focus on what the customer wants.
Absolutely.
Okay. I want to thank you for joining us on this episode of IAMCP Profiles in Partnership, powered by Dunamis Marketing. We hope you enjoyed this podcast and find it useful and inspiring. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and review us on your favorite podcast platform. One of the best ways to partner for success is to join IAMCP, a community of Microsoft partners who help each other grow and thrive. IAMCP members can find and connect with other partners locally and globally and access exclusive resources and opportunities. Whether you're looking for new customers, new markets, or new solutions, IAMCP can help you achieve your goals. To learn more, visit the website at www.iamcp.org.